Welcome back to Inside the Mind of Greg Heffley, a much deeper look into the iconic star of the Diary of Wimpy Kid series. He's a much more interesting character than he seems on the surface, at least when compared to other kids' books. Is he a sociopath like the common theory talks about, or just an awful person? What exactly goes on in his head? Today we'll be analyzing The Last Straw, which is the third book in the series. It takes place basically right after the events of Project Rules, though there's only a few parts referencing that. The main plot here is that Greg's dad wants to get Greg to toughen up, and a military school might just be the way to do that. Well, The Last Straw's overarching story is probably the slowest of all three books so far, just because that military school plot comes in pretty late. Instead, a bunch of random things happen that aren't always connected to each other, so we'll be looking through these random moments and analyzing Greg Heffley. From the first two books, we learned that he thinks very highly of himself, and no, it's not your typical middle school kid narcissism. He keeps going on and on about how he's the best and how everyone's gonna be working for him and he'll be famous one day. Also, very early on in The Last Straw, we see what Greg really thinks about himself. She said everyone can't be as perfect as you, Gregory, and from what I've seen so far, I think she's right. This is of course one of many examples, but it just emphasizes how he really views himself when compared to others. If we're talking about what makes a sociopath actually a sociopath, one of the factors is that they have a grandiose sense of self. Grandiosity means it's someone who sees themselves as an unrealistic sense of superiority, while judging everyone else as below them. Greg alluding to himself as being perfect here would probably be normal middle school kid behavior at first, but he constantly assures us, the reader, that he is truly in that position of authority. He brings it up time and time again, which doesn't seem too normal. If you've watched some of my other Wimpy Kid videos, you probably know that Greg's manipulation is most notably seen during his encounters with his best friend Rowley. There's a part in The Last Straw where they're both walking home from school, but of course Greg is lazy and doesn't feel like going through the effort. Why walk when you have a friend ready to do whatever you ask of them? And of course, Greg convinces Rowley to give him a piggyback ride after reminding him that this is what best friends do. If you've been keeping up, you also know that Greg almost never pays the favor. Classic manipulation moments right here. At one point in the journal, Rowley's karate friend is having a sleepover and asks his best friend to join. Well, obviously he says no because what's in it for him? Hanging out? No, that's not good enough. But then when he hears word of love interest Holly Hill's having a sleepover in the same neighborhood, he immediately switches gears and says yes to the offer. He usually doesn't care to hang out just because, but if it benefits him in any way, he jumps at the opportunity. You guys remember back in Project Rules when Greg started that whole invisible Chirag prank that escalated surprisingly far? Well, he's back at it again in The Last Straw when he and a few other kids decided to pull a different prank by making Chirag think he was going deaf. Probably nowhere near as bad, but it's clear that throughout the books he always enjoys messing with other people, whether it be in front of them or behind their backs with spreading rumors.
I've played like a billion pranks on him. In fact, I've taught Rowley just about everything he knows about comedy. One of the things I've taught Rowley is that timing is everything.
He never usually feels too bad about these after the fact, and even if he talks about any regret in the journals, would he really keep messing with everyone if he felt bad about doing it? There's a reason we're on book 3 and the same exact thing has still been going on since the beginning. You know how Greg likes to play puppet master and basically control other people's lives to work in his favor? Well, we get an example of that from The Last Straw's final pages. When school was ending, Holly wrote Greg a pretty standard letter about not really knowing him, but he seemed okay anyway. While at first he was happy with this, once he found out that Rowley's letter was talking about how adorable and funny he was, Greg decided to step in. A couple of minutes later, Holly's yearbook came around and I had a chance to sign it. So here's what I put. Dear Holly, you are a nice person and all, but I only think of you as a friend. From Slick. To give some context, Slick was just Rowley's nickname, so Greg wrote this like it came from Rowley. This is just unnecessary controlling and it's not uncommon for the Wimpy Kid. He keeps on meddling in other people's lives when they don't even ask for it. Any potential romantic future between Rowley and Holly is now gone, all because Greg was jealous about the letter. And finally, we know how Heffley sees his best friend less as a friend and more of just an empty shell for manipulation, which is revealed even further in one of the last pages. A new girl moves into town, and once both Rally and Greg have the same romantic plan for themselves, Greg immediately pictures killing Rally. Oh, okay. But that's not all, because his second plan is just to use Rally's country club guest passes so he and this new girl can chill at the pool, and surprise surprise, Rally is the servant. The icing on the cake of the last straw is confirming once again how highly Heffley sees himself. It looks like things are finally going my way, and you know, it's about time. I don't know anyone who deserves to catch a break more than me, because like I said before, I'm pretty much one of the best people I know. To make a long story short, Greg Heffley is hilarious to read about, but he's still a pretty terrible person. Anyway, we'll be continuing this analysis in the 4th journal, Dog Days, so get hyped for Greg's summer adventures of manipulation. But anyway, that's all for this video. Subscribe for more awesome cartoon videos. Give a thumbs up and comment below, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.